Scarlet and Violet were certainly the releases of all time, and with so many additions and also many bugs on launch day, how about I talk about some of my favorites? Especially since Southern Realities just got into Gen 9, while mine is currently waiting for Gen 11 to launch later in the year. Anyways, this video is not a ranking, but instead just me gushing about my favorite Paldeamons in no particular order. Speaking of which, hey, finally got a fucking dolphin Pokemon. Nice. Palfin's a pleasant surprise, not only because of how long it's been for this franchise to introduce a Pokemon based on one of the most popular sea creatures, but it's also a surprise because it's a really good Pokemon. I love its mechanic/ability of looking the same as its pre-evolution Finizen, but once it switches out and comes back in, it's in its hero form. It's a nice touch, and all three designs are really appealing to the eye, which is an added bonus in this mon's favor. And the cherry on top of this dolphin-sized beefcake, its hero form stats are fucking busted. A surprisingly recurring trend with this generation, as we'll see later. For now, though, let's talk about a more balanced Pokemon. Gen 9 really did give Doglemers a massive bone, as we got not one, but 3 good boy evolutionary lines. But out of the 3, Mabostiff was my favorite, and the large reason for that was thanks to Arven's story. Yes, it is a cliché sick dog story, but to play Lucifer's advocate for a moment, it does a great job at tugging at your heartstrings while also incentivizing you to get the other Mysticas so that Arven's doggy doesn't die.
Why is my ass in his own?
Even if I put aside the story making me love this Doge, Mabostiff has a great and memorable design, and even its competitive side is really solid, thanks to its good attack stat and great abilities. Also helps that if its dex under is to be believed, specifically Violet, it also protects their families. That gets more brand points in my book. I'm not sure about other reality versions of me though, but that is not my fucking problem. Speaking of family, however, of course I liked Mousehold. It's cute, I love the family dynamic, though similar to mine, I got the family of 3 instead of 4, and similar to Palafin, it's busted in terms of competitive. Sort of. Population Bomb is a fucking menace if it hits all 10 times, and the animation is absolutely precious. Its speed stat is solid, and the signature move Mousehold gets after evolving, Tidy Up, not only gives you a physical attack and speed boost, but it also pretty much removes any hazards on your side. Yeah, I think Rabbitsfin needs to go to the fucking gym, because once this move gets put on other Pokemon, which it very much will, let's be real, yeah, this move's gonna get left in the dust. But yeah, I liked Mousehold. Now, if only it was easier to spot in the wild. Speaking of, Gimmighoul is one of the most annoying mons to evolve. I am sure absolutely nobody has ever made yet on this platform. However, and I can't believe I'm saying this either, it is absolutely worth it to get one of Gen 9's best Pokemon. Goldengo, its evolution, has a lovable design, and is a fucking menace in competitive, not only because of its stats, but also its abilities and signature move Make It Rain, which is a Steel-type payday that also went to the fucking gym, Jesus! But back to its abilities. Good as Gold basically shuts down most stallers and or focused mons as it makes Surfer King Midas immune to status moves. Add in a really great special attack stat and effective typing of Ghost and Steel, and you get a Pokemon that is worth the fucking hassle of collecting all those goddamn coins across the region. Anyways, on the topic of Steel types, Tinkaton is a precious but destructive being that must be protected, but can also attack. I love its evolutionary line, though funnily enough, Tinkatink's design reminds me of that one character from the Flintstones. The name escapes me, but it's the one with the rattle, but was also incredibly deadly. See, I look up the name, but every time I type in Flintstones, I get redirected to the Jetsons. Anyways, outside of its design across all 3 stages, it's solid and competitive, and I do love its lore. It's basically a little gremlin who makes its own weapon. That's really interesting. And the fact it just spits Corviknights out of the sky with its hammer as a Tinkaton, very amusing. Sure, it could get a boost in its stats, and that's the only real issue I have with it, but even despite that point against it, this bean has been really helpful during my playthrough of Gen 9, and its type of Fairy Steel is a nice cherry on top of the cake. As for the starters, surprisingly, none of them are mons I would consider my favorites of the gen. That's not to say they're bad, far from it, but they really don't appeal to me in comparison to the likes of Greninja, Decidueye, and Inteleon from previous gen/favorite Pokemon lists I've done. However, if you want me to rank them, Skeledirge first, Meowscarada second, and Quaquaval gets third. However, Gen 9 didn't just give us the starters and new mons, it also gave us evolutions to existing Pokemon, and new variants. So to kill some time, how about I talk about my favorites from both. First up, evolutions. Farigiraf. Cool design, well-needed upgrade to Girafarig after it got ignored for fucking decades. To Dunsparce, also well-needed upgrade to Dunsparce, and while its design is a bit goofy since they just added an extra hump thingy, it did get a chuckle out of me, and it's so nice to see them give Dunsparce some form of love after decades of getting ignored like Girafarig was. King Gambit, a big fucking surprise since Spysharp was already really good. But hey, it was a welcome surprise. Great design, great and competitive, but it's a dumbass when it comes to devising strategies. Still smarter than the champion of this region, though. Annihilate, a really cool evolution as it basically turns Primate from angry monkey to angry monkey that is too angry to die. It's also really strong, so that's a plus. And while it technically doesn't fall into the criteria I described a moment ago, Paldean Wooper and Clodsire are cute beans that I also appreciate. Alright, let's get on to the Paradox ones. Slitherwing is just a Volcarona on the ground, but it is a precious design with a great typing and solid stats. Sure, Iron Moth, the future form of Volcarona, is stronger technically, but Slitherwing is cuter and has a more unique design than just a robed version of Solar Moth who wants the lamp. Speaking of sun, Fluttermane. Buffed up Misdreavus, and I fucking love it. Yeah, it doesn't evolve into a Mismagius or a past version of it, but it's still a busted mon in terms of competitive, and its design is so silly, I can't help but love it. Speaking of love, behold the only future Paradox mon that I like. Iron Valiant. It's basically a fusion of Gallade and Gardevoir, but chrome, and it gets buffed up stats, and a good typing. I love this beast. I really love this beast. So, yeah. Those are my favorite Paldean Pokemon. That's why I didn't include the DLC Pokemon. Well, that's because I refused to buy it on principle. You're being charged the equivalent of a 3DS game for a couple hours of gameplay on an unstable engine. No fucking thank you. Besides, they're not all that special. That's also why I didn't talk about the Treasures of Ruins for those curious. But that's just me. What were your favorite Paldeamon/Gen 9 Pokemon? Let me know in the comments below, and until we meet again, I'm David Grimm, and thank you for watching.